Hey y'all. Today I'm still continuing planting on more evergreens, and I thought we'd talk a little bit about it as I'm adding a few new ones to the landscape. Uh, it's going to be a little different though, because today we're going to talk about shade evergreens that also have beautiful blooms. And some will be shrubs, and there may be a couple of perennials. But what you're looking at right now is a rhododendron, and this is the type that it is. Rhododendron polarnact, I guess. I don't want to butcher the name, but these rhododendrons grow in the shade, and so this will actually be the first time I've ever grown rhododendrons. I've always wanted to, but our other property that we lived in, it was in full sun. We really had no shade. And so I never really got the opportunity to actually grow any shade plants, really. And so I'm excited about getting to add some of these finally. I had picked these up at Home Depot, I don't remember when, a couple of weeks ago maybe. And this one it's going to get 4 to 6 foot wide. And they're going to get roughly around 5 foot tall. And so you can see they're cold hardy to -10, which I think is zone 5. So zone 5 and up. But I just love the purple color on that. Now this one has not bloomed yet, so I'm hoping that maybe I'll get to see some blooms, because it says that it blooms from late spring to summer, so we'll see about that. And where I'm planting it here is on the side of the house, and I'm a little bit concerned that I may not be able to dig a hole here, because I don't know if you can see the tree roots behind it. There's a giant tree here. I think it's a sweet gum. But I'm gonna attempt to dig a hole here. We'll see how this goes. I may end up having to put this one somewhere else. Ooh, I've already hit a tree root, so we'll see. Maybe I can just adjust it over a little bit. But there's actually quite a few blooming shrubs and perennials that, will grow in the shade. And these are a little bit like a dogwood, I guess, because you can actually plant these where they're kind of growing out under the edge of some trees. Here on the mountain, we actually have areas where we have native, or what we call wild, rhododendrons. We also have wild magnolias, and but they're different because they actually will drop seed and sprout from that. But this kind is not, the ones you buy is not supposed to do that. Looks like I may be able to plant this right here. That's great. And this is not a very big pot, so I don't have to dig a very big hole. And that's just right. Now you can take cuttings and propagate rhododendrons. the same way you would a hydrangea. That's beautiful. I love the foliage on these. It makes me think they actually kind of look a little bit tropical to me, the foliage does, the way it grows. But it puts me in mind of like the magnolia trees, the shape of the leaves and color of them, certain types. Because you know there's different types of magnolias too. So let me get this planted and then we'll be back. And then you just water it in really well. And now I'm going to say, I know a lot of people will go ahead and fertilize around their plants, or they throw certain types of fertilizer in the hole when they plant them. I've never done that. And I've never had a problem with my plants. I will go around and throw fertilizer around them after, later on. And they seem to do fine for me that way. But, if you want to throw some kind of tone or whatever in the hole, then go ahead by all means and do that. I just don't. Okay, now I'm going to show y'all the next one I'm fixing to plant. It's another rhododendron too. Okay, this one is going by the back deck. And you can see this one's much smaller than the one I just planted, but it also had a much smaller price tag. This is and I'm not even going to try to pronounce this one. But this is the one this one is. And it's white, which is, I think it's going to be beautiful, with the purple just right on the other side. And this one's actually more cold hardy. This one blooms late spring, early to late spring, so this one's going to be an earlier bloomer. We'll see. Since they're in the same area, we'll see if this one blooms earlier or not. And I may have to wait till next year for that. But you can see it's going to get around 5 foot wide, and I'm guessing 4 to 5 foot tall. And it's minus 30, minus 30 degrees, which is 10 degrees, 20 degrees. Actually, more cold hardy than the other one. So don't get that kind of cold here, but, this might even work in his own floor. Let's see if I can dig a hole here. Because on this back side of the house, we have lots of huge trees. And so, when you start digging, you never know if you're going to be able to dig a hole or not for hitting tree roots. So let me get this hole dug and I'll be right back. These actually have a pretty good root system. To be so small. Okay. Now I hope that these do really good and produce lots of flowers next year. If I don't get to see any this year. Okay, another good one that's good for the shade are hydrangeas. The smooth hydrangeas or the macrophyllias. And I'm talking about the ones that bloom on old and new wood. You know, if you're in a warmer climate and you don't have to worry about harsh winters, then you really don't have to worry as much about getting blooms on the ones that only bloom on old wood. But if you're in a colder zone, or one that where you're gonna sometimes have harsh winters, then you might want to just stick with the ones that bloom on old and new. And all of these right here, I think, are from Endless Summer. And I have the ones that are, blue or pink, depending on your acidity in your soil. And then I have the Summer Crush, which, if you want to take the time to raise the pH and stuff in the soil, or buy the stuff that you can sprinkle around it to raise the pH in your soil, the Summer Crush actually blooms red. But for me, because I don't really care about that. All of these back here tend to be different shades of blues and purples, and because we have low pH. But that's a great one for the shade. These can grow and bloom in full shade, just like the rhododendrons can. Now let's go around there. I got another one that I'm going to plant. Okay, now we're on the other side of the house near the ponds. This is a azalea. And there's different types of azaleas. You've got the kind that only does good in shade. They can handle some morning sun, but they need mostly shade. And then you've got the kind that can go in the sun or the shade, and you've got the kind that reblooms. Now I'm assuming this one won't be a rebloomer. We'll see. But it's a shade one. And I thought, I love the white. I thought this would be so pretty out here, beside of the, what is it, Florida Sunshine here. I'll show y'all. The Florida Sunshine and this weeping redbud, because you've got the different colors. These colors are so pretty together. You've got the chartreuse yellow from the Florida Sunshine, and you've got the purples and burgundies and stuff, even a little bit of green on the weeping redbud. And now the weeping redbud is also a lot like a dogwood. You can actually grow it in the shade and it will bloom in the spring. However, if it's in full shade, your leaves are going to be mostly green. And here it gets enough sun, even though this is shade, it gets enough sun in the morning times to where, it has plenty of purples and burgundies in the leaves. But now on over in the summer, this is more shady and they tend to be more green. But I'm fine with that. I think it's beautiful over here. And so I'll show y'all the specs on this azalea. Okay. This one's going to get 3 foot tall and 3 foot wide. And even though it says part sun, if you're in the south, it needs to be in mostly shade, because it will fry in the hot sun. It doesn't say anything about reblooming, so I'm sure it's not going to. But it's only cold hardy to 0 degrees. So I'm just going to kind of plant it. This is going to be like a little trio here. And I think it's just going to be so pretty. So let's see if I can dig a hole here. Again, we're still over here where there's lots of trees. Doesn't look like I'm going to hit a tree root here, and this is very good, rich soil. And I know there's a lot of weeds out here right now, but it's raining so much till it's a little bit of a problem to get it under control. It rained last night. It's supposed to storm tomorrow. So, but I'm not going to complain, because once it stops raining, we'll be hot and dry. And then I'll have to be watering everything. So, I will get the weeds taken care of. I just have to do it as I can do it, work on it between the rains. That's what I've been doing, just an area at a time. And I'm going to show y'all something here. If I wanted to, there's actually 3 in this. If I wanted to, I could divide this. And I probably wouldn't make 3, but I could make 2. But I'm not going to do that. I do that a lot. But I kind of want this one to be full for right now. Sometimes you just want to have the, you know, the full impact. And that's kind of what I want here. Okay. Oh, I think that looks so pretty together. Now we're going to move on around toward the ponds. And I'm going to stop and show y'all something right quick. This is the double play Dozy Spya from Proven Winners. And I want y'all to look at how beautiful this is. I'm not sure if the camera makes the flowers look red or pink, but they are a very dark pink. And this is supposed to be a 3x3, but that's at least 4 foot tall. And I have cut this back. I cut it back, I don't know, sometime at the end of January or beginning of February. And this is one of my favorite shrubs. I love it. You can actually keep this one blooming all summer long. All you have to do is, it'll flush out with blooms like it is right now, and it's got a ton that's not opened yet. But once they have all bloomed, you just come in and give it a cut back, and it'll flush out new growth, and it blooms on new growth. So when it flushes out new growth, it starts blooming all over again. And you know, it'll be kind of like your drift roses and things, that you might have a little lull in between here and there. But I love this one so much that I bought 2 more. And And I'm actually planning to propagate some of this summer. When I get ready to do that, I'll make a video on it. But I just wanted to show y'all that. I'll give y'all a little glimpse of the pond before we go on to the next thing. Oh, before I give y'all a glimpse of the pond, I do want to say this only gets morning sun, so this can actually go in a shady area. As long as it gets some morning sun, it'll still bloom beautifully. Okay, now I'll give y'all a glimpse of the pond. You can see how the ponds need cleaning out. I've not done it yet. I've just not had a chance to get around to doing it. But the fish, they're active right now. And once I clean this up, it's going to look really good. I've not even done any of my annual plantings yet around the pond, which I'll make videos on that when I do. Because I've got a lot of annuals to plant. Some are my own propagation. Some I've bought. You know, there's a lot to be done. I just got to find enough time in the day to do it all. You can see the spireas beside the pond. I actually have one on the other side of that biofilter too. It's only about half the size of this one because I planted it last year. Okay, now I'm going to move on around to the last thing I'm planting. Okay, now this is a perennial that's also an evergreen. And I'm going to plant it right here because I have 3 on the other side of this walkway. And this is your Linton Rose, or your hellebore. And you can see the specs on this one. It gets about 15 inches tall. You need to plant them about a foot apart. And it's cold hardy to minus 20, which is pretty cold hardy. And again, it says part sun. If you're in the south, it's pure shade. Or at the most morning sun. You do not want to put it in the sun. And I know it's got some leaves on the bottom that needs to be cut off. I had it sitting in water because I had to go out of town. There's fire ants right here. I don't know if I'll be able to plant this right now. Ooh. There was I had last year bought on clearance a dwarf loropetalum, and it looked terrible. And I didn't know if it would make it or not, and it didn't. So I'm going to plant this Linton Rose here in its place. You know, sometimes that happens. Okay, now sometimes no matter how much you take care of a plant, it just doesn't make it for whatever reason. And sometimes, or a lot of the times, it's not even your fault. I'm not going to put water in this one right now because the hole is wet. The plant is wet. I will water it in, but I'm not going to put water in the hole. And anyways, we will see how this does here. Hopefully it does better than that loropetalum did. The Linton Roses seem to be pretty hardy though. And of course they bloom and they're so pretty. Because they will bloom here for me. They kind of bloomed in the dead of winter. I broke a leaf off. Just see what happens. I'll stick it back in the dirt. Okay. I'm just going to water it in. This one needs to dry out a little bit. It's too wet. But you do want to get rid of the air pockets, so I don't know if you can see it without me moving the camera, but it had really pretty yellow blooms on it, but I left it in the water too long. I shouldn't have done that, but hopefully it'll be okay. Okay. And I got a couple more perennials over here that I'm going to show y'all before I end this video that are good for the shade. Okay, this is the Spiderwort. And now, I know this can be invasive, but there's types of it that is not invasive. And to be honest, I'm not sure if this one is or not. It was a Home Depot plant. I guess time will tell if I end up in a mess with this one. But I do think the chartreuse color is so pretty, and those lavender flowers on it. I just think it's beautiful back here. And if it ends up, running and becoming a bit of a problem, then I'll just move it somewhere out to the edge of the yard where I don't mind it doing that. And I'm going to show y'all one more. And this is the Pollinaria, or the lungwort. And you can see how bright those colors are, even when it's not in bloom. Now this one does bloom, and it's still got a few blooms that's not opened up yet. But for the most part, I think it's done for. But even once it quits blooming, you have all the color from the leaves, because there's just so much color on the leaves between the greens and grays and whites. It's like I said, it's called Pollinaria or lungwort. And I've got another one on the other side, and I think they're different kinds actually, because there is different types of it. But any of them are, they need to be in the shade. And if you're in the south, again, the deep shade. I guess before I end this, I'll show y'all a quick view of these Hosta, because they were in a video when they were just coming up, and now they're actually up and looking really pretty. Okay, this is the area that was not, up when I showed it before. I think I might have been showing the Pollinaria actually in the video. But in the Hosta, I had a few that was up, but they were just starting to leaf out. And this is one of my favorite spots. I love the different types of Hosta. And each Hosta here is actually a different variety. And if you're having a plant in the shade, you can. Now Hosta does bloom. I don't particularly like the blooms. I normally cut them off. I just don't like the stalks that shoots up out of them. Some people do, and if you do, that's fine. Everybody's different. But for me, it's the different colors and varieties of Hosta. When you mix them together this way, you don't even have to have flowers in the area. The colors just stand out. It almost looks like you have flowers. Let me move a little bit to the other side, and, well, maybe I can just turn it. You can see on that side, I have the Empress Woo, I have the Woo La La, and some of these, I don't even know what they're called. The Shadowland, Shadow Lake. I mean, I have the tags, but they're just not with the plant, so I can't tell you right off the top of my head what's what. But I love the colors. Let me move to the front side. I just think that's so pretty. And I did not used to be a hosta person. I really didn't care for it. But once I started seeing all the different varieties, I love it. I just think it's so pretty. Anyways, that's just an idea for, somebody who's having to plant things in the deep shade, mixing the different colors of hosta, along with some of the blooming plants that I've shown, and shrubs that I've planted today in this video. And there's lots more. These are just the ones that I have. And so if you're looking to plant things that are, more shade but still need the color and or the flowers or the evergreen that blooms, then I hope this video helps. Until next time, bye.